here. I just recently completed my third year here at UNM. My major instrument is voice, although there's a little bit of piano in there, and I really need to get more on that. But I've been composing since around 2020, I want to say, so about 3 years, around somewhere around there. Yeah.
Nice. I think one of the things that is most interesting to me about your music is the fluid sense of harmony that I find in every single one of your pieces. I think each one takes a slightly different harmonic approach, and so it's always a little bit fresh. And I was hoping that you could give me an idea of what kind of things you're thinking about when you're, writing your harmonic structures in any particular piece.
Well, honestly, for me, in regards to harmony and harmonic structure, generally, usually it's not necessarily like it's a lot of trial and error, a lot of just sitting down at a piano and just like punching keys in with each other to kind of figure out, okay, what piece, like what notes sound good, what sound strong enough for me to carry on with each of these with each of these different things. Like I don't necessarily sometimes I have different methods of getting there just on the base of the piece. Like for example, with a vocal piece that I recently composed. Love Armed, a setting to a poem by Afra Bain. That was that was very much like a more of just like hashing it out on a piano.
Yeah.
Whereas with something like for my Morse code set, Samuel's Message, for that one, what I did was basically use the letter positions of letters, like converting the English alphabet into like an A1Z26 code, and then just converting that code into like a mod 12 system, so that way I could get pitches and like sonorities, that kind of way.
Right.
Yeah.
So your method could range anywhere from the intuitive to the completely systematic.
Yes.
I think that's really great. That's
Yeah.
just a very versatile composer. I really love that.
Yeah, thank you.
So you've already mentioned one of your songs. I think the first piece of yours that I ever heard was a song of yours, and you've continued to produce them and with really beautiful texts. And so I wanted to ask you, what kind of things are you looking for when you decide to set a text? And do you get inspired by reading text and decide to write a song, or do you decide you're going to write a song and look for a text?
Well, it's definitely a lot more of that other thing. Like I decide that I'm going to write a song, and then I look for a text to see like what has that particular character to me, to be like particular character that I'm looking for, that kind of thing.
Right.
Usually, whenever I'm searching out a text, and I always tend to have that there as a structural basis,
Right.
Just by itself. Whenever I'm looking for a text, usually, first and foremost, I tend to kind of step back and is thinking, okay, can I use this text first and foremost? There's a lot of like legal implications first and foremost in regards to like using someone else's work,
Right.
for your own purposes, that kind of thing. And it gets into a lot of like copyright law and that kind of thing. So generally, I tend to keep most of my text ideas in the public domain, like something that's like from people who are long dead or who are in the public domain, like Emily Dickinson, like famous quotes attributed to certain people, that kind of thing. The major reason for that is because, well, I want to be able to use it. The one thing, like I remember this discussion of a piece, Sleep by Eric Whitacre, in the in like the composer's notes and as like his thought process, he originally wrote it to a poem by Robert Frost, but the Robert Frost estate still held rights, and he didn't. And he didn't explicitly ask permission to use the poem, so unfortunately he had to divorce the poem from the song, and then contract one of his friends to write a poem to what he had already written. So
that's very interesting.
yeah,
I think it's a very smart and practical way to go about it, that you try to only not necessarily allow yourself, but you try to only get to that musical connection with pieces or with texts that you know that you're going to be able to use, and I think that's very smart.
Yeah, it's just more of a practice thing. Otherwise, I can always just ask somebody to write a poem for me. So like that, and like it's just like, hey, and like trying to do something that's more famous and more contemporary, in that kind of sense, like you read in a book or something like that. That's going to be a little bit more challenging, and
but presents some very interesting opportunities, especially for us composers.
Oh yeah, of course. I still haven't gotten around to doing that quite yet, and probably like a couple years down the line, I'll think, okay, I gotta figure out how to do this. So,
speaking of goals for new things that we want to do in our composition, you've had a very solid output over the past year, and like I said before, you're always trying new things. One of your pieces very recently for Splinter Reeds was using post-tonal techniques where I've never seen you use them before, and then we collaborated ourselves for your first piece with electronics, and that was a very fun experience. Is there anything in your immediate future, like any new compositional opportunities that you would really like to be able to do?
Well, it's more just like composing for specific instruments more than anything else. Sure. I've been working, most of my compositions have been for the residencies that have been here.
Right.
For example, like new music ensemble, vocal sextet or choir, a lot of piano as well. I wanted to kind of, and I've been feeling kind of limited as of late to just those things, and I've wanted to kind of branch out into other things. I have an exact, the particular one that I'm thinking of is organ, actually. I wanted to try writing an organ piece. And I'm sure that's going to be their own challenges. I'm working with one of my friends who is an organ player to figure out how to just get things together, and like how do I write for this instrument, because like even though there's a lot of similarities to the keyboard that I'm most familiar with, piano, there's obviously going to be a lot of differences. And I've heard that it's very similar to synths and how you can use it with that, because synths are based on organs. So I think I have some little leeway, but of course, like I'm still trying to figure out like how I can get to an organ to like actually listen to it and see how it plays to see like
I think that is an excellent idea. An organ piece is also one that I would really love to write, because organ music is just so idiomatic. It's a very interesting instrument that you would think would overlap with the piano more than it actually does, but it really is its own beast that not a whole lot of composers have been able to really step into extremely effectively. I think that's really admirable, and I hope that you are able to get that opportunity soon, because I know you're going to do a great job at it.
I'm excited. That's more of a summer project, though.
Definitely. Are you thinking solo organ, or
organ?
Oh, okay.
Solo organ.
I think the opportunity to, once you have that under your belt, then also incorporate that into your very skilled choral writing, I think that presents some really great opportunities.
Yeah, that's something that I've been kind of wanting to do as well, and I think that would be really fun.
I hope you're able to do that soon. Now, Jude, as a final thing, I was hoping that you could give us an idea of where you see yourself in the future? What are your, I mean, that's very open-ended, but what are your long-term goals, specifically in terms of music, composition, what have you?
Well, in like, what kind of range? Like 5 years?
Whatever you feel like,
okay.
whatever is most in your brain.
Well, what I'd really enjoy doing is just more like getting to work with particular ensembles more and more, just steadily getting larger and more grandiose in scope.
Sure.
Just building myself up further and further until eventually like writing orchestra pieces, that kind of thing. I think that would be something that I really enjoy, like, and hopefully orchestra and choir.
Yeah.
would be something that I'd really want to do. That's probably like a long way down the line, but outside of that, it would be something that I would know that my journey to becoming a composer that I could be proud of would be complete. Because like I'm very proud of the work that I'm doing right now, but at the same time I still feel like I'm somewhat limited, and I just need to keep pushing myself more and more.
I understand.
Yeah, and it's a long process, but I'm willing to play the long game and that kind of thing. Yeah.
I think that's really admirable. I love that. I love that you have the picture of yourself as a composer that, like you say, that you can be proud of. I think that's great. We need to be able to imagine that. One last follow-up question to that, because I think that's really interesting. What composers are special to you enough for you to feel like you can model your own future image after them? Are there any particular composers that you feel like you want to, I don't know, overlap with them in some way in your future professional composer self?
Okay. Well, in terms of that's a very tough question. But I'm gonna try to answer that as best I can. In regards to like more classic kind of composers, I guess probably the one that I turn to most is probably like the likes of Beethoven and Stravinsky.
Sure.
Like the massive kind of like scope of their pieces.
Yeah.
I'd really like to get toward.
Really like that maximalism.
Like that maximalism kind of stuff. Though of course I want to kind of just like weave different things, because like no ensemble is just an ensemble by itself. It's like a bunch of people just working together, and I want to have those kind of soloistic kind of things just moving toward each other. Probably one of the contemporary composers that I most want to model myself after is Christopher Tin.
Okay.
He's very prolific in the video game world. He's the major composer for the Sid Meier's Civilization games.
Sure.
But he also branches out into larger sets and larger cycles removed from that.
Yeah.
His most recent work is, to my knowledge, To Shiver the Sky, which is a kind of a concept piece regarding like these different civilizations and how they react to the heavens, either from a scientific, a religious, spiritual kind of perspective. And I kind of wanted to kind of like model myself after that, like using concepts to inform my pieces.
Yeah, I really love that, and I think you can see that. So I'm very excited to. I'm very excited to see how your music continues to evolve as you get even more and more substantial means to work with. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you, Jude.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah.